The second largest economy on Earth is collapsing in slow motion. Not from a war, not from a pandemic, not from sanctions or foreign invasion. China is collapsing under the weight of the same financial disease that has destroyed empires for centuries: debt, speculation, and the desperate belief that real estate prices can rise forever. For decades, the world watched China's growth and called it a miracle. Gleaming cities rose from nothing. Infrastructure projects dwarfed anything the West could imagine. And Chinese officials assured everyone that their system was different, smarter, immune to the cycles that plagued capitalist economies. They were wrong, and now the bill is coming due. But here's what makes this collapse different. The Chinese government is doing everything in its power to hide it. They're manipulating data, silencing critics, and using every tool of state control to keep the illusion alive. Because if the truth gets out, if the world realizes just how deep the rot goes, the consequences won't just destroy China, they'll shatter the global economy. This is the wealth records, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. To understand how China reached this point, you need to go back 30 years. In the 1990s, after decades of Maoist central planning had left the country poor and backward, Deng Xiaoping opened China to market reforms. Suddenly, factories appeared. Foreign investment poured in. Cities expanded at a pace the world had never seen. But beneath the surface, a dangerous pattern was forming. Local governments needed revenue to fund development, but they couldn't raise taxes easily. So they found another source: land. Local officials seized rural land, reclassified it as urban, and sold it to developers at massive markups. This created a feedback loop. Developers borrowed money to buy land. They built apartment towers. Prices rose. More people bought. Banks lent more. Local governments sold more land. And the cycle accelerated. For years it worked. Chinese families, with few investment options due to capital controls, poured their savings into real estate. Owning property became the ultimate symbol of success and security. Entire cities were built on the assumption that prices would keep climbing forever. But there was a problem. Much of this construction wasn't driven by real demand. It was driven by speculation and local government debt. Developers built ghost cities, massive urban complexes with empty apartments, vacant shopping malls, and roads no one used. It didn't matter. As long as prices kept rising, the game continued. Banks kept lending, families kept buying, and local governments kept spending. By 2020, China had built enough housing to shelter every citizen twice over, but the construction never stopped, because the entire economy had become addicted to it. And then the music stopped. In 2020, the Chinese government, recognizing the danger, introduced the 3 red lines policy. It was an attempt to limit how much debt property developers could take on. The goal was to cool the market gently. But the market didn't cool. It froze. Developers who had been borrowing to fund one project while building another suddenly couldn't get new loans. Cash flow dried up. Construction halted. And the biggest of them all, Evergrande, began to collapse. Evergrande wasn't just a real estate company, it was a financial empire. At its peak, it owed over $300 billion, making it one of the most indebted corporations on the planet. It had pre-sold apartments to millions of Chinese families who had handed over their life savings expecting a home in return. But Evergrande couldn't finish the projects. The money was gone, spent on land purchases, interest payments, and expansion, into everything from electric vehicles to theme parks. When Evergrande defaulted in 2021, it sent shockwaves through the Chinese economy. But the government assured everyone it was an isolated case. They were lying, because Evergrande wasn't alone. Country Garden, another giant developer, followed, then Shimao, then Sunac. One by one, the biggest names in Chinese real estate began collapsing. Each collapse revealed the same pattern: mountains of debt, unfinished projects, furious homebuyers who had paid in full but received nothing, and local governments who had relied on land sales to fund everything from schools to hospitals, suddenly facing bankruptcy. By 2023, over 50 major Chinese developers had defaulted. Billions of dollars in bonds became worthless. International investors who had trusted Chinese growth lost fortunes. But the real victims were ordinary Chinese citizens. Families who had scraped together deposits, taken on massive mortgages, and bought apartments that would never be finished. In cities across China, home buyers began mortgage strikes, refusing to pay loans for apartments that didn't exist. The government cracked down, censoring social media, arresting organizers, and pressuring banks to keep lending. But the damage was done. Trust in the system was shattered. And once trust is gone, no amount of propaganda can bring it back. The collapse of China's real estate sector isn't just a housing crisis. It's a full-scale financial disaster. Because real estate isn't a side part of China's economy. It is the economy. By some estimates, real estate and related industries account for up to 30% of China's GDP. Construction, steel, cement, furniture, home appliances, banking, local government revenue, all of it tied to property. When real estate crashes, Everything crashes with it. But the deeper problem isn't just real estate, it's debt. China's total debt, government, corporate, and household combined, now exceeds 280% of GDP. That's over 50 trillion. And much of it is hidden in off-balance sheet financing vehicles that local governments use to dodge official debt limits. These shadow banks and local government financing vehicles borrowed recklessly for decades, funding infrastructure projects that will never generate returns. High-speed rail lines to nowhere, airports with no passengers, industrial parks with no factories. The projects looked impressive. They boosted GDP numbers, but they were financially disastrous. And now the bills are coming due. Local governments across China are effectively bankrupt. They can't pay salaries. They can't fund basic services. Some have resorted to seizing private businesses or forcing state-owned enterprises to hand over profits just to stay afloat. This isn't prosperity. This is desperation. And it's happening in the country that was supposed to overtake the United States as the world's largest economy. If this story sounds familiar, it should. Because China isn't the first country to experience this. They're just the latest. In the 1980s, Japan went through the exact same cycle. Decades of rapid growth, skyrocketing real estate prices, banks lending recklessly, a belief that property values could never fall. And then, in 1991, the bubble burst. Japanese real estate lost 80% of its value. Banks collapsed. The Nikkei stock index crashed. And Japan entered what economists call the lost decades. 30 years later, Japan still hasn't fully recovered. Its economy stagnated, its population aged, and an entire generation was scarred by the collapse. China is now following the same script, but with one critical difference. China's bubble is far bigger. Japan in 1990 had a population of 120 million. China has 1.4 billion. Japan's real estate bubble was concentrated in Tokyo and a few major cities. China's bubble is nationwide. And Japan, for all its problems, was a wealthy, developed country when its bubble burst. China is still a middle-income nation. Millions of its citizens are poor. Its social safety net is weak. And its political system depends on delivering economic growth to maintain legitimacy. If China enters its own lost decades, the consequences will be catastrophic, not just for China, but for the entire world. But here's where the story gets even darker. The Chinese government knows all of this, and they're doing everything they can to hide it. Official statistics are manipulated. GDP growth numbers are inflated. Unemployment figures are suppressed. Independent researchers who publish uncomfortable data are silenced. Foreign journalists who investigate too deeply are expelled. And Chinese citizens who protest online find their posts deleted and their accounts banned. The government has spent decades building a surveillance and censorship apparatus designed to control information. And now, as the economy crumbles, they're using it to maintain the illusion of stability. But illusions don't pay debts, and reality has a way of breaking through. Despite the government's efforts, signs of collapse are everywhere. Youth unemployment in China is officially around 15%, but independent estimates put it closer to 25%. Factories are closing, exports are slowing, foreign companies are relocating to Vietnam, India, and Mexico. And the Chinese stock market, despite government intervention, continues to fall. In 2024, over $6 trillion in market value was wiped out from Chinese equities. Investors, both domestic and foreign, are fleeing. The demographic crisis makes everything worse. China's population is shrinking. For the first time in decades, deaths are outnumbering births. The one-child policy, enforced for over 30 years, has left China with too few young people to support an aging population. Fewer workers means slower growth. Fewer consumers means less demand, and a shrinking population means falling real estate prices. Because who will buy all those empty apartments when there are fewer people every year? This is the nightmare scenario economists warned about. And it's happening in real time. Japan faced the same demographic collapse. But Japan had one advantage. It was already rich when its population started shrinking. China is getting old before it gets rich. And that's a problem no amount of state planning can solve. So what happens next? The optimists argue that China will muddle through, that the government will engineer a soft landing, restructure debt, and manage the transition to a consumption-based economy. But history suggests otherwise. Every major real estate bubble in modern history has ended in crisis. The United States in 2008, Japan in 1991, Spain in 2008, Ireland in 2008. The pattern is always the same. Prices rise beyond reason, debt accumulates, the bubble bursts, and the aftermath is brutal. China is not special. The laws of economics apply to everyone. And right now, China is violating every one of them. The pessimists, and history is on their side, believe China is heading for a full-scale financial crisis. A wave of defaults that will engulf banks, corporations, and local governments. A collapse in consumer spending as households, buried in debt and holding worthless property, stop buying. A political crisis as the Communist Party, which has built its legitimacy on delivering prosperity, faces a population that blames it for economic ruin, and a global shock as the world's second largest economy contracts, dragging down commodity exporters, manufacturers, and financial markets everywhere. Here's what makes this collapse so dangerous for the rest of the world. China is deeply integrated into the global economy. It's the largest trading partner for over 120 countries. It's the world's factory, producing everything from electronics to pharmaceuticals. And it holds over $3 trillion in foreign reserves, much of it in U.S. Treasury bonds. If China's economy implodes, global supply chains will fracture. Commodity prices will crash, devastating countries like Australia, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia that depend on Chinese demand. Multinational corporations that invested billions in China will see those investments evaporate. And financial markets, already fragile, will face another shock they're not prepared for. The 2008 financial crisis started in the United States and nearly destroyed the global economy. A Chinese financial crisis would be worse, because China's economy is bigger, its debt is larger, and the world is more interconnected than it was in 2008. But there's another consequence that no one talks about: political instability. The Chinese Communist Party has ruled for over 70 years by delivering economic growth. That's the unspoken bargain. Citizens give up political freedom in exchange for rising prosperity. But what happens when prosperity ends? When millions of middle-class families lose their savings? When young people can't find jobs? When local governments can't pay salaries? History shows that economic collapse breeds political chaos. The Weimar Republic collapsed into fascism after hyperinflation destroyed the German middle class. The Soviet Union disintegrated after decades of economic stagnation. And countless governments throughout history have fallen when they could no longer deliver prosperity. China's leaders know this. That's why they're so desperate to maintain control. But control only works when people believe the system is functioning. And right now, fewer and fewer Chinese citizens believe that. So what's the lesson here? The same lesson history has been teaching for centuries. You cannot build a sustainable economy on debt and speculation. You cannot manipulate markets forever. And you cannot hide economic reality, no matter how powerful your government is. China tried. They built the largest real estate bubble in human history. They accumulated debt faster than any nation ever has. They manipulated data, censored criticism, and convinced themselves they had discovered a new model. But they didn't discover anything. They just repeated the same mistakes every empire makes. And now they're paying the price. The question is whether the rest of the world will pay it with them. Because if China collapses, and all signs point to it happening, the economic shockwaves will be felt everywhere. In stock markets, in commodity prices, in supply chains, in geopolitical stability. No country will be immune. And the collapse of the second largest economy on Earth will reshape the 21st century in ways we can't yet imagine. History doesn't repeat, but if you don't understand it, it will crush you all the same. China is learning that lesson right now, and the rest of us should be paying attention. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.